Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. Oliver Reed is a highly skilled and respected surgeon. In the eyes of his coworkers and patients, Oliver is not only skilled, it's more of a gentle and courteous one, compassionate and good doctor. Whenever he puts on that clean white lab coat, while wearing a mask and standing in front of the operating table, that look of concentration and confidence is always reassuring. Oliver lives a happy and quiet life with his wife Sophia and their lovely daughter Lily. They live in a bright and spacious house. The yard is filled with Sophia's well-tended flowers and plants. Every morning, Oliver kisses his wife and daughter on the cheek before leaving the house, then drive to the hospital. He could always smell the aroma wafting from the kitchen when he came home at night. See Lily running happily to greet him. Sophia is in an administrative position at a large local hospital. Work conscientiously and responsibly. She's smart and capable, always organized with work and family. Oliver has often been blessed to have such a virtuous wife. They seem to be the model couple to everyone. However, cracks begin to appear in this seemingly perfect picture of life. When the hospital's new director, Marcus Spencer, came on board, Sophia was promoted to his assistant. At first, Oliver is happy for his wife's promotion, but over time, he began to notice some subtle changes. Sophia started working overtime more often, sometimes even staying out all night. She explained that it was a job requirement. Marcus needs her for some urgent business. Oliver understands the importance of his wife's work, but he had to admit that there was a hint of unease growing deep inside. On a couple of occasions, when Oliver went to the hospital to pick Sophia up from work, he noticed the undisguised possessiveness in the way Marcus looked at Sophia. That look makes Oliver feel uncomfortable, but he tried to convince himself that it could just be that I'm overthinking it. Sophia's behavior has also become somewhat unusual. She began to pay more attention to her appearance, the frequent purchase of new clothes and cosmetics. Sometimes Oliver would smell an unfamiliar perfume on her. When he inquired, Sophia always makes light of the fact that it was a gift from Marcus. It's just used out of courtesy. Despite these indications, Oliver still doesn't want to believe that his wife would cheat on him. They've been married for years. We've been through so many storms together. He prefers not to believe that anything could happen between Sophia and Marcus that shouldn't. However, once the seeds of doubt are planted, it will just keep taking root. Oliver began to notice more details. Sophia's cell phone is always carefully guarded. Never left her. She often went out alone and he said he was meeting a friend, but came back looking preoccupied. Sometimes he wakes up in the middle of the night to find Sophia whispering on the phone from the balcony. Oliver tries to communicate with Sophia, ask her if she's had anything on her mind lately. But Sophia always laughs and says it's nothing. Everything's fine. Her smile looked so genuine that it made Oliver reluctant to pursue the matter further. Over time, the distance between Oliver and Sophia seems to be growing. Their conversations became brief and rusty. The moments of intimacy are becoming fewer and fewer. Oliver is starting to wonder whether one really knows one's wife. Was their marriage as unbreakable as he had always thought? One night, as Oliver was getting ready to go to sleep, he heard Sophia whispering downstairs. He walked quietly to the stairway and heard his wife say in a sweet tone he had never heard before, "I miss you too, Marcus. Don't worry. Soon we'll be together." In that moment, Oliver felt like his heart was being ripped out of his chest. He wanted to rush downstairs and question Sophia, but eventually returned to the bedroom in silence. He's lying in bed, staring at the ceiling and pondering how to face this harsh reality. The next morning, Oliver decides not to move for a while. He needed time to organize his thoughts and make a plan. He knew that if he acted rashly, could lose everything: his marriage, his daughter, even his career. In order to escape from the inner turmoil and agitation of, Oliver decides to head off on his own for a weekend at his vacation home on the lake. The villa is in a beautiful, isolated setting. It's Oliver's secret base for relaxation and reflection. He told Sophia he was going to a medical conference. then packed my bags and drove away. When Oliver stepped into the villa, breathing in the fresh air, while looking at the calm surface of the lake, he felt a twinge of peace. However, he knew it was just the calm before the storm. He had a premonition of an impending crisis that would change his life for the better, and he had to be ready to face it. Early Saturday morning, Oliver was awakened by the chirping of birds outside his window. He opened his eyes, looking at the unfamiliar ceiling. For a moment, there was a bit of a trance. Then he remembered that he was at the lake house. It was to escape that stifling family atmosphere that I came here. Oliver got up. Standing on the balcony, he took a deep breath of fresh air. The lake is like a mirror, reflecting the blue sky and white clouds. The mountains in the distance loomed in the morning mist. It's a view that should be soothing to the soul. But Oliver's heart can't be at peace. His mind kept replaying the conversation he'd heard last night between Sophia and Marcus. That sweet tone was like a sharp dagger that kept piercing his heart. To divert attention, Oliver decides to go to a nearby town to purchase some ingredients. Driving down the road, he tried to concentrate on the path before him, but the inner turmoil could not be dispelled. He couldn't help but start remembering the moments when he met and fell in love with Sophia. They used to be so in love, promised to be together for life. But now, all these vows seem to have turned out to be a sham. Back at the cottage, Oliver begins to prepare lunch. While chopping vegetables, his hand suddenly slipped and the sharp blade cut through his fingers, blood dripping down his fingertips. Oliver, however, felt no pain. He stared at the drops of blood that, suddenly realizing the numbness within myself. Just then, the villa's doorbell suddenly rang. Oliver froze. He didn't tell anyone he was here. With doubt, he walked toward the door and looked out through the cat's eye. When he got a good look at the person at the door, Oliver felt his heart stop beating suddenly. Standing in the doorway, surprisingly, it's Sophia and Marcus. Oliver takes a deep breath. Force yourself to calm down. He opened the door slowly and said in mock surprise, "Sophia? Marcus? What are you guys doing here?" Sophia looks a little rattled, but managed to squeeze out a smile. "Oliver, there's something we'd like to talk to you about." Marcus, on the other hand, seems to have his ducks in a row. He stepped right into the villa and, as if this was his own place. "Dr. Reed, I hope we're not interrupting your vacation." Oliver felt a surge of anger come over him but he tried to suppress his emotions. He sidled up to Sophia and let her in, then closed the door. The three came into the living room and there was a suffocating tension in the air. Oliver gestures for the two to sit down, himself standing by the fireplace, with their backs to them, pretend to be organizing the decorations on the mantel. "So," Oliver spoke up, with a tremor in his voice, "what do you have to talk to me about?" Sophia takes a deep breath and it seemed to be gathering courage. Finally, she spoke. "Oliver, I don't know what to say, but me and Marcus, we're in love." Marcus picked up on it bluntly. "Sophia has decided to stay with me." Oliver turned and looked at the two men sitting on the couch. Sophia kept her head down, not daring to meet his eyes. Marcus, for his part, straightened his back and looked at him with an almost provocative look. "Is that so, Sophia?" "I'm sorry," Oliver asked softly. The eyes stayed on his wife. Sophia finally looks up. Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Oliver. I know this is hard for you to accept, but I'm really in love with Marcus. We've been together for a while. I want a divorce." Oliver felt like his world was falling apart in this moment, despite his premonition. But hearing these words firsthand, it still made him feel dizzy. He braced himself against the fireplace and tried to steady himself. "What about Lily?" Oliver asked with difficulty. "Do you ever think about our daughter?" Marcus interjected. "On that point, we've given it a lot of thought. Lily will be staying with us. I'll give her the best life, the best education. You can certainly come and see her as often as you like." Oliver looked at Marcus incredulously. "What did you say? What makes you think you can take my daughter?" Marcus flashed an aspiring grin. "Dr. Reed, I think it's clear to you. In my position and influence, I can offer Lily the best of everything. And If you insist on fighting for custody, I have to warn you that I have some information on hand about your interesting information. What message? Oliver asked warily. Marcus said slowly. For example, some of the things you make in surgery, little mistakes, although there were no serious consequences. But if the medical board finds out, I'm afraid that's the end of your career. Oliver felt a chill come over him. He was reminded of a surgery he had a couple months ago. He did make a small mistake at the time, due to fatigue but he corrected it quickly and the patient was not harmed in any way. He doesn't know how Marcus found out about it. Are you threatening me? Oliver asked through gritted teeth. Marcus shrugged. I'm just stating the facts. Oliver, we're all adults here. I'm sure you'll make a wise choice. Relinquishing custody of Lily. Agreeing to a peaceful divorce. I promise it won't affect your career in any way. Otherwise, he paused meaningfully for a moment too. I don't suppose you'd like to see your years of hard work go down the drain? Oliver felt a twinge of heaven. He looks over at Sophia. Wish she'd said something. But Sophia just kept her head down and was silent. It was then that Oliver's eyes fell on the cell phone sitting on the coffee table. An idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He needs evidence. He needs to videotape Marcus' threats. Oliver forced himself to calm down and pretend to be shocked by Marcus' words. He sat down disheveled on the couch and said, "The man, I need time to think." Marcus flashed a victor's smile. Of course, we understand that this is a difficult decision for you, but I suggest you make your choice as soon as possible. After all, the longer it drags on, the better for no one. Just then, Oliver's cell phone suddenly rings. He glanced at the caller ID. It was from the hospital. I'm sorry, I have to take this call. I'm sorry, Oliver said, picking up his cell phone and heading to the balcony. On the balcony, Oliver pretended to be on the phone with the hospital. In fact, he quickly turned on the recording function on his cell phone and then walked back to the living room as if nothing had happened. Nothing major. I'm sorry, Oliver said to the waiting pair. It's just a patient's post-op situation. Marcus nods. Then stand up. Now that we've got that out of the way, then we'll take our leave. Oliver, I hope that the next time we meet, you can give us a clear answer. Oliver barely managed to squeeze out a smile. I'll think about it. After dropping off Sophia and Marcus, Oliver closed the door and leaned against it, slowly sliding to sit on the floor. He felt more exhausted and desperate than ever, but he knew that the battle had only just begun. He took out his cell phone and played the recording he had just made. Marcus's threats are clearly documented. Oliver took a deep breath and stood up. He walked towards the study and opened a hidden safe. Inside lay a military pistol he had treasured from his service in the field hospital. Oliver pulled out the pistol and felt its weight. He knew that in order to protect himself and his daughter, he must be prepared to face the worst. The storm has come, and he must stand firm in this storm. As night fell and a mist hung over the lake, the moonlight poured through the clouds onto the water, creating a hazy silver glow. Oliver stood at the window, the service pistol clutched in his hand, the eyes fixed on the distant woods as if waiting for something. Since Sophia and Marcus left, Oliver has been on high alert ever since. He knew Marcus wasn't the type to give up lightly, not to mention the fact that there is now custody of Lily involved. Oliver knows that in order to get what he wants, Marcus may do whatever it takes. Just then, Oliver hears the sound of a car engine from outside. He quickly turned off the lights in the room and hid behind the curtains to observe. A black SUV slowly drove up and parked in the open space in front of the villa. The car door opened and Marcus and another tall, lanky man stepped out. That strange man Oliver recognized. It's Jack, the hospital's head of security. Jack's an ex-military man. He's got a lot of hands. Oliver had heard about his reputation for dealing with rowdy patients at the hospital. Oliver's heart sank. He realizes that Marcus isn't here to negotiate this time. Rather, they were prepared to use force to compel him into submission. Marcus and Jack walk up to the door, knocked hard on the door. Oliver, I know you're in there. Marcus's voice came through. Don't keep us waiting too long, or there will be consequences. Oliver takes a deep breath. Hiding the pistol behind his back, he then slowly walked towards the door. He knows that what happens next will determine his and Lily's future. Marcus, Oliver said, opening the door. Pretending to be calm, he said, I thought we agreed to give me time to think about it. Marcus sneered, Time's up, Oliver. I need you to make a decision now. Sign away custody of Lily or dash, he winked at Jack. Jack steps forward. A stun baton was held in his hand and waved it threateningly. Oliver fought back the anger and fear he felt inside. Said, Well, let's go in and talk. The three entered the parlor and the atmosphere was tense. Marcus pulled a file out of his briefcase and tossed it on the coffee table. Sign it, Marcus ordered, and then you can go on with your quiet life. Without Lily, of course. Oliver picked up the file. Pretend to be reading carefully. His mind raced and thinking about how to defuse the crisis at hand. Just then, Jack swoops in and grabs Oliver by the collar, pinning him against the wall. No tricks, Jack yelled down. Just sign it. Oliver felt a chill, but he didn't give up. He looks over at Marcus. Tough to say. Do you really think this is going to get you what you want? Do you think Sophia will forgive you for treating her husband the way you did? Marcus's expression flickered with a shaky, but the coldness soon returned. Sophia will understand. This, he said, is for our future. Oliver continued, You're wrong, Marcus. Sophia loves Lily more than anything. If she knew you were doing this to Lily's father, she'll never forgive you. Marcus seems touched by Oliver's words. He hesitated, then said to Jack, Let him go. Jack let go of Oliver, but was still eyeing him intently. Oliver straightened his collar, then said, Marcus, we can sit down and talk it over. There's no need to get all swashbuckling. Marcus nodded and sat down on the couch. Oliver sat down, too, but he kept his hand behind his back, clutching the pistol. Listen, Marcus. Oliver began to say, I know you love Sophia. Maybe you can actually give her a better life. But Lily is my daughter, and I can't just give up on her. Marcus frowned. So what do you want? Oliver took a deep breath. Let's make a deal. I agreed to the divorce, but we share custody of Lily. I promise I won't interfere with your life with Sophia, but I'm going to have the right to see my daughter often. Marcus thinks for a moment. Then it said, yes, but on one condition. You have to quit your current job. Leave the city. Oliver looked at Marcus in surprise. What? Why? Marcus sneered. Because I don't want to see you. As long as you're still in the city. I'd feel like you could sabotage my relationship with Sophia at any moment. Oliver felt a surge of anger come over him. He realizes that Marcus is not negotiating in good faith at all. He just wants to completely ruin his life. Just then, Jack made a sudden move. As soon as he grabbed Oliver by the collar, dragged him up from the couch. Cut the crap, Jack roared. Either sign it, or I'll make it impossible for you to sign it. In the nick of time, Oliver made a decision. He quickly pulled his pistol from behind him and aimed it at Jack. A deathly silence fell over the room. Marcus and Jack are stunned. Obviously didn't expect Oliver to react that way. Let go of me, Oliver said calmly, and otherwise I can't guarantee what will happen next. Jack slowly let go and took a few steps back. Marcus stood up. A grimace. Are you crazy, Oliver? Do you know it's illegal to carry a gun? Oliver laughed bitterly. More than your behavior. I don't think that counts for much. Marcus, now let's talk it over. It was then that the accident happened. Jack suddenly lunges at Oliver and tries to take his gun. In the confusion, the gun went off. A loud gunshot echoed through the villa. Jack staggers back a few steps and then fell heavily to the ground. Blood gushed from his chest. Soon the carpet was stained red. Oliver stayed put. Can't believe what's happening. He looked at his trembling hand and another look at Jack, who had fallen to the ground. At a loss for words, Marcus was also stunned by the sudden turn of events. He looks at Oliver. Another look at Jack, then suddenly turned and ran. Oliver came back to his senses, yelling, Marcus, stop! But Marcus had already stormed out the door, jumped in his car, and sped away. Oliver is kneeling beside Jack. Check his injuries. As a physician, he soon realized that the situation was very serious. The bullet hit Jack in the chest cavity. Possible injury to the heart or aorta. Oliver began administering first aid immediately. He pressed hard on the wound. Attempts were made to stop the bleeding while a cell phone was taken out to call the emergency services. Hang in there, Jack. Oliver's doing CPR while he's at it, while saying, the ambulance is on its way. But Jack's vital signs are rapidly declining. His breathing became faint and his pulse weakened. Oliver knew that if the ambulance didn't come, Jack might not make it. Just then, Oliver hears sirens in the distance. He breathed a sigh of relief, but then tensed. He knew that a long and difficult legal battle awaited him. Ambulances and police cars arrived almost simultaneously. The paramedics quickly took over the treatment of Jack, and the police start questioning Oliver about what happened. Oliver told the police exactly what happened, including the Marcus threat, and how he himself shot Jack in self-defense. He also mentioned the recording on his cell phone that, as evidence that Marcus threatened him. The police carefully recorded Oliver's statement, but he had to be arrested anyway. While being taken away, Oliver saw Jack being carried to the ambulance. He doesn't know if Jack will survive this, nor do they know what awaits them. Sitting in the back seat of a police car, Oliver thought back to this crazy day. From the serenity of the morning at the lake house, to now facing possible murder charges. His life was turned upside down in a matter of hours. But even in such a case, Oliver's heart is still filled with worry about Lily. He wondered how Marcus would explain to Sophia what had happened tonight. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to see my own daughter again. The police car drove off into the night. Oliver looks out the window at the view flying by. The mind is filled with uncertainty about the future. He knew that an uphill battle awaited him. But for Lily's sake, for the sake of her own innocence, he had to be strong for everything. Oliver was sitting in a dimly lit interrogation room, facing the two serious-looking detectives. It's been 3 days since that thrilling night. But for Oliver, it seems like centuries have passed. Dr. Reed, one of the detectives, spoke up. Please tell us again what happened that night. Oliver takes a deep breath, began to tell the story of that night. He described in detail how Marcus and Jack broke into the villa, how to threaten him, and that last fateful moment. I didn't mean to hurt Jack, Oliver said. There was a deep guilt in his voice. I was just trying to protect myself. The detectives exchanged a look. Dr. Reed, we understand your situation, another detective said. But the fact remains that a man died. And Mr. Marcus Spencer's testimony differs significantly from yours. Oliver felt a chill. He should have expected Marcus to make up lies to protect himself. Just then, the door to the interrogation room was suddenly pushed open. An old man with gray hair and an imposing face walked in. I'm Benjamin Carter. The old man said, I'm Oliver Reed's attorney. I would like to speak to my client alone. The detectives hesitated, then nodded in agreement. They leave the room, leaving Oliver and Benjamin alone. Uncle Ben, exclaimed Oliver. Benjamin Carter was Oliver's mentor, a highly respected retired professor of medicine, and a dear friend of Oliver's for many years. Son, I heard about what happened, Benjamin said. There was concern in his voice. Don't worry, I'll help you. Over the next few hours, Oliver told Benjamin in detail what had happened. Benjamin listens carefully, nod or frown from time to time. Oliver, Benjamin finally said, I believe you're innocent, but we need more evidence to prove it. You said you recorded Marcus' threats on your cell phone? Oliver nodded. Yes, the recording is still in my phone, but the phone is now in the hands of the police. Benjamin thought for a moment, then said, I'll find a way to get the recording. Also, we need to look into Marcus' background. I suspect he's been doing some shady things in the hospital. The next few weeks were busy for Benjamin. He hires a private investigator to look into Marcus's background, while also trying to get bail for Oliver. Finally, after a month of Oliver's incarceration, Benjamin brings good news. We found some key evidence. Benjamin said excitedly. Marcus has been covering up medical malpractice at the hospital. There are also serious economic problems. And we've got a couple of witnesses who are willing to testify. They can prove that Marcus abused his position, threatened employees on multiple occasions. Oliver felt a glimmer of hope, but he couldn't help but ask, what about Sophia? What did she say? Benjamin's expression became complicated. Sophia. She's confused, Oliver. The version Marcus told her was very different from the truth. But when we showed her the evidence, She's starting to suspect Marcus. Oliver nodded, his mind a mix of emotions. Despite Sophia's betrayal, but he couldn't help worrying about her. Finally, the day of judgment arrived. The courtroom was packed and everyone was looking forward to the outcome of this sensational case. Marcus was the first to take the witness stand. He tearfully describes how Oliver attacked him and Jack, for no reason. How to shoot Jack in cold blood. But when Benjamin started cross-examining, Marcus's lies are starting to show. Mr. Marcus Spencer. I'm sorry, Benjamin said, with a sharp edge of sarcasm in his voice. You said Dr. Oliver Reed attacked you guys for no reason. So please, can you explain this recording? Benjamin played the recording from Oliver's cell phone. Marcus's face instantly turned pale. The recordings clearly document how he threatened Oliver and tried to force Oliver to give up custody of his daughter. The courtroom was in an uproar. Marcus began to stammer in defense, but it was no longer helpful. Next, Benjamin called several witnesses. They were all employees of the hospital and testified that Marcus repeatedly abused his authority to cover up medical malpractice. Finally, Sophia took the witness stand. She looked haggard and red-eyed. When asked about the events of that night, she choked back a sob. I didn't know things would turn out this way. Marcus told me that Oliver became violent and threatened to hurt us. But now I know that everything was a lie by Marcus. When Sophia said that, Oliver felt heartbroken. He realized that it wasn't just him. Sophia was also a victim of Marcus. Finally, Oliver took the witness stand himself. Under Benjamin's guidance, he calmly recounted what had happened, describing how he was forced to use a handgun in self-defense, how to try to save Jack's life, and the guilt and pain in the process. I am deeply saddened by Jack's death, Oliver said, his voice catching. If I may, I'd give my life to get his back. But at the time, I had no choice. I'm just trying to protect myself and my daughter. The jury took just 2 hours to reach a verdict. Oliver was acquitted of all charges. Marcus, on the other hand, was sentenced to prison for multiple offenses. The moment I walked out of the courtroom, Oliver felt the sun was so bright. Sophia is standing at the bottom of the steps, with Lily in her arms. Oliver, Sophia said softly, I'm sorry for everything. Oliver looks at Sophia and then at Lily. He knew that despite everything that had happened, Lily would always be the link that connected them. We've all made mistakes, Sophia, Oliver said. But right now, the most important thing is Lily. We should be looking out for her. Sophia nods. Tears welled up in his eyes. She hands Lily to Oliver. Oliver held his daughter close to him, feeling her warm little body, smelling the faint milky scent of her hair. And in that moment, Oliver knew, though there's a long road ahead, but as long as Lily was there, it was all worth it. A few months later, Oliver returned to work at the hospital, although some of his co-workers shunned him. But more people expressed understanding and support. Benjamin, as a member of the hospital's board of directors, full support for Oliver's return to work. Oliver and Sophia come to an agreement to co-parent Lily, although they are no longer married. But for Lily's sake, they try to stay on good terms. However, the scars left on Oliver by this fiasco have not fully healed. In the dead of night, he often thought of that terrible night that, think of Jack falling into a pool of blood. Guilt and self-loathing tormented him from time to time. To ease the pain within, Oliver became involved in some volunteer medical services. He regularly visits clinics in underprivileged areas. Use your expertise to help those who can't afford medical care. In the process of healing others, Oliver is also slowly healing himself. One day, while Oliver was attending to a little girl in the clinic, he got a call out of the blue. It's Jack's wife. Dr. Reed, came a gentle female voice on the other end of the line. I know this may come as a surprise to you, but I want you to know that I forgive you. Jack used to say, when he was alive, that working in a hospital, sometimes there are tough choices to be faced. He understands the situation you were in. Oliver felt his eyes moisten. He choked back a sob and said, Thank you. You don't know what that means to me. Putting the phone down, Oliver looks out the window. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. He remembered that early morning at the lake house. Think of the peaceful life you once had. Those days are gone. But Oliver knows that life always goes on. He turned and looked at the sick people waiting to be seen. In this moment, Oliver felt a peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew that whatever awaited him ahead, he will face it all with courage, because now he's, more than ever, the value of life, and appreciate every moment of the present more. Oliver takes a deep breath. A warm smile appeared. "Next," he said, with hope in his voice, "the next patient, please come in." Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.